Good morning to all of my gardeners and people who want to garden, who are interested in seeing garden tours on YouTube. This is Kelly Love in Cincinnati, Ohio, Zone 15. Been a long time since I made a video. Today I just want to walk through and I want to show you some of my things that are in bloom, that are looking okay. So everything is not perfect, but that's gardening. So I hope that you all like my videos. Hopefully I'll get some likes and some subscribers. It's going to be a minute because I've got some tweaking I need to do with a lot of things, and I need to get a new camera. But anyway, this is my yard. A lot of these things I put in all by myself. It's got a brick bed out here. This used to be like really small, but I made it larger. I always have to go overboard and make everything big. But I've got some sumac, the tiger eyes sumac. I've got some baptisia or indigo blue, what they call it, false indigo. I have some dwarf pea Hamlin grass in here, some denim and lace sage in there. I like those, but I think I'm going to take out a lot of this sumac because it grows and it can take over if you don't snatch those baby shoots out the ground. I don't know exactly what you call them. I just know you'll get baby trees from the roots of the original trees and it'll keep spreading out. But I like that denim and laces. I like that size. But I need to cut some of this sumac back, let it have a little more room. And I think I'm gonna plant a lot more of those in this bed later on. With it being August, what is today, the 8th? Got a lot of things to do. Because I do a lot of this gardening on my own, I haven't been able to do a lot of things I wanted to do, but attempt to maintain the yard by just keeping the grass cut, pulling as many weeds as I can get to, and trying to take care of the plants. So this bed here, the bumblebees, oh, they ate that up pretty good. But you can still see some of the purple. It's really pretty when it's all purple until the bees get it, but they need it. Got irises. I had some of those reblooming irises in here. They didn't do it because I didn't bother to prune off the first blooms. I had too much to do. I think I'm gonna divide those and put them in another spot. I've got some a friend gave me. I've got these variegated ones here that have the purple, pretty purple flower on them. I need to divide those and move them to another area, or at least create another bed. There's a lot going on in here. I love the liriope that's spreading. I bought that from somebody and they just divided it out, and I just stuck it in different areas, and it's doing pretty good. Excuse me. That is some, what is that? A type of sedum here. I had 3 of those, but there was a year that it was really hot and I went out of town and I came home to only that one surviving. This is, I'm not exactly sure on the name of this because when I bought this, I actually got it from a big box store and it didn't have a technical name on it. I just know it was a hibiscus, but it's pretty hardy because this is one of the stronger ones that I have. I had a puppy eat it all the way down where I thought it killed it, and it came right back super strong. I've even planted some new plants from the seed pod that I found on that plant, and I've got it over here. I used that milk carton planting version, but these look really nice. That's the version of it there, so I'm gonna plant those too. There's some seeded salvia that I did myself. I just have to, and I gave some of that away too. I need to plant that. I just don't know where yet. Got my limelight hydrangea over here. This year I didn't, this past year I didn't prune it at all. I just popped the heads off from last year, but the heads were like 3 times as big. So I said I wasn't gonna prune it because when I do, those heads get super big and it plops worse than this. So this year they came out a little smaller, but oh, they will get huge. So if you know nothing about limelights, once you prune them real good, and people say you usually shouldn't prune them no more than a third of the plant. So if you prune a lot, they're gonna have huge heads on them, especially if you fertilize the well and it's getting just what it needs. But I don't care what it gets, I still love the plant. Another sumac over here, it's spreaded. I had these cut in a tree form, but they shot those roots out from ground and they'll shoot out feet away from the tree. And this is what happens. But I like the tree form better, but I just had too much going on working on my vegetable garden, so I didn't get to keep it pruned like I needed to, or really wanted to. This here is just a little piece I put together so in the wintertime I have something to look at. A little something. I got more weeds to take care of. You're gonna see a lot of weeds in this video. So they pop up, have one good rain, and it's like you get 2 feet of weeds and a whole yard of friends of the weeds. This is I always forget the name of this tree. It's in my brain, but I can't pull it out. Sea green something. I can't get it out. Too many things on my brain. Maybe later when I start doing some editing, I can add names on. Right now, I can't get the name of that out of me. I know what it is, I just can't get it out. But I love those trees. I like the little wispy branches on it. And this too, there's one over there on that side. I have some elephant ears, and these are the ones that get giant, but this year I didn't have enough ground space prepared to put those in, so they're small because I keep cutting off the dead ones, and the root ball pretty much is the size of the pot. It's more than 2/3 the size of that pot, so I got to take it out and break it down. I think I may even stick some in the ground to see if it's gonna grow. Same thing with that pot over there. That's a dried up dapple willow in that pot. We ain't gonna worry about that too much. But elephant ears I'm gonna have to chop up. And that's I think just a dwarf Alberta spruce. It's just sitting there. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. This walkway here was loaded with weeds, loaded. And because I don't have the time and I'm not prepared to have anybody do any sidewalking here, all I did was put down a type of track edging. It's the type of edging that is plastic, and it has holes that you put these long plastic nails in to hold it down into the ground. So I put this all up and down the walkway here just to make this a little neater. Planted a couple little arborvitaes that were sitting in pots. This one, I gotta work on this one. You get a lot of wind over here, but it's a lot of excess water here too, so that could be affecting that. There's a drain pipe that spills out, and I believe it was coming over here, affecting that. All my hydrangeas from last year. I believe I made a video with these in it. Anyway, all of these were pretty ratty when I stuck them in. I put them in the hottest part of last summer, and they suffered and struggled. I mean, they struggled. This year they came up pretty nice. Nothing burning out, nothing dropping leaves. And in this bed over winter, even when snow was on the ground, I was so tired of being stuck in the house this winter. I came out right before it snowed. There was already some snow on the ground, but we were gonna have another day of a lot of snow. So what I did was I dropped a bunch of mulch and a bunch of manure out here. I put leaves down first, a lot of leaves. I had bags, and I mean tons of bags of leaves. So I put them all along this whole bed. I dropped several bags of manure on top of the leaves to hold the leaves in place. And then I put a lot of mulch down. Then in the spring, I mulched it one more time. So they have done well because they got a lot of leaves breaking down. So with all that leaf mold and everything down there in the manure, they were fed well. And I also added a little bit of preen in there and some other types of fertilizer, the slow release granules in there. So these have been doing well all spring, and I love it. This over here is just my little pot I threw together to put in the smaller type of elephant ears and some canna. Actually, I begged for those canna. I went by a guy's house because my canna died. Even the root bulbs that I saved, they all got too cold, and I went and knocked on the guy's door because he always had a big patch of them growing, and asked if I could please have some of his. And he came out in 2 seconds with a shovel and dug some out for myself and my auntie. And you talking about a little girl in a candy store clapping up and down. It's like being in a toy store too. I was so happy, and he gave us several plants, and I just stuck them everywhere so I could have plenty of those so I could save those roots. This is my corn. We'll see what's going to happen real soon. I did a vegetable garden much bigger than I've done in a long time, but this is my corn. Waiting to see what it's going to produce. And I threw some green beans in here, but it's kind of jam-packed in this pot, so what's a few green beans on there. A lot of this junk here is spare plants that I'm trying to just keep moist every once in a while until I figure out what I'm gonna do with them. This happens when you garden. You have stuff everywhere. I have no idea what this plant is here, but the leaves taste great. This was in a coneflower pack, thinking that I was planting coneflowers, but this is what grew. But it's edible, and we've been eating it. My poor greenhouse, the wind, it blew it till it just tore all the plastic off, and I haven't touched it. I just let it come off because there was nothing in there to save anyway. So it's just hanging everywhere. It's everywhere. Sunflowers, those were all volunteers. I didn't plant one, except I moved those from my hydrangea bed. There were 4 or 5 of them. I actually dug one of them out and gave it to a friend. The other ones, I took all of those plants, and I just plant them over here. Now, we just passed up a couple things, but I just wanted to get to that since that's what I started on. All the sunflowers, looks like it's one, I'm not sure, I don't know if that's mammoth. That one on the end is different from the rest, that one single flower, but all of these look to be the same. And it's the ones I wanted to plant this year, and it just happened to be the ones that seeded, they dropped last year, and they're growing, and I love it. And I planted some zinnias for the first time. Never really knew much about zinnias, but I put some in this pot. And I like the colorful flowers. It's beautiful. There's some amaranth back here. I don't know if this is gonna grow long enough to get the red flower on it, but I can't wait to see it if it does. These here pitiful looking plants are collard greens. The bugs have been eating them to death. And you see these little weird bugs? They're the ones that's eating them and tearing them up. I don't even know what you call those. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm a great gardener, but I still have a lot to learn about certain things. Cabbage growing. Not real sure. Maybe I can use that. I believe I probably could use that. But I had several of these, and it would have been a lot bigger and nicer. There's one in there, but that one's beat up quite a bit. I had all of these beige pots, all had cabbage in them, and they were all beautiful in the beginning. But I had to rip most of all of those out because of the little pretty white butterfly dropping the babies, and then they grew and they ate my cabbage. So I had to take them and just throw them in the compost bin and turn that over with the compost. These are my collard greens that have been attacked. Last year I grew some. They didn't suffer like this. They were beautiful. This bunch right here is a hot mess. So I'm gonna just take them and throw them in the compost too, and replant everything and cover them with netting this time. These are my spare banana trees I dug out from this here. I've got Japanese bloodgrass in there, mixed with plenty of weeds. The weeds wanted to join in. They said we want to look pretty too, so they all, I can't get to everything. I just got too much. But I got work to do this fall. I'm gonna try to get all this together. I had all of this nice and edged out and nice and clean, but all it takes is one rain here and it's just a disaster after that. So everything is alive, it's in there. I just gotta get to it and clean it up. This is not gonna be the prettiest video, but I at least wanted to show what I've been doing, where I'm at. Peppers growing. I have tons of basil, different types of peppers. There's some of them turning now. I'm glad to see that color coming in. I got hot bananas. I got sweet bananas. I got different types of bell peppers. Let's see. Tomatoes. This is growing crazy because it's planted in the bed, so it's all over the place. There's some seeded cannas that I planted. I have to take all of them. It's like 5 or 6 plants in there I gotta take out. There's some peppermint and then unplanted supertunia here. Some new yucca growing in that pot there. Let's see. I grew lavender. I need to take these out because I actually have some birds of paradise seeds that I thought were old. I had had them for several years and I thought they didn't work, but they started growing up. So I had to take this lavender out, which was all from seed, and put them someplace. I haven't decided. Ooh, and that smells so good. So what I have, hot salsa peppers growing in here. I have banana, just a hot banana. I have pulled a lot of that off so far, and got to cut some of these flowers off of this basil and harvest a lot of that. This is habanero here, the ones that are turning orange. Yeah, habanero. What is this? Some more hot salsa peppers over here. Some of these, a lot of these I seeded myself while they're so small, and I had to finally take them out of a group pot and repot them in these bigger bags. These are the jalapeno here. Hopefully I'll get these before it gets cold. And long, thin cayenne down here. And there's some orange bell. Was supposed to be orange bell, but it's coming up something else. What is that? It might be. Anyway, sometimes some of these seed packets come up different and you have something that you didn't think you were gonna have. But anyway, I got peppers growing. Another hot salsa in that bag. More basil. Over here, I've got different types of cherry tomatoes. There's some growing in there. And I can't tell you exactly the name of the cherry tomato. I just know, and we see it's cherry tomatoes. Some back here, some up here, some in here, and some over here I need to pluck off. And I've been for a month, more than a month now, plucking tomatoes also. I still have more I need to pull off. And when I started out, I put them in these bags, these little mesh bags here, because some of my things started out getting eaten by insects. So after a while, the insects kind of left them alone. So I still have bags, but that helps to keep everything from getting eaten up by birds, insects, rodents, you name it. Of course, I got the marigolds in there. I think it helped a lot if I've had a lot of basil out here and the marigolds, and my tomatoes have been doing pretty good. And of course, if you don't know, for new gardeners, you can always take these dry heads off of the marigolds, and inside this part of the flower are some little spiky like seeds in here. So just pop those off, set them in the house and let them dry off. I take these little pieces off the end, but inside you'll see it's like a black and beige seed in there, and it's a bunch of them, and you lay them on their side in the dirt, lightly cover them with dirt. I mean, barely cover them, and they'll grow. If you try to stick them down in the dirt, they're gonna struggle. You lay them right on top of soil and then sprinkle a little light layer of soil on top of them, and they'll grow. So I got a lot of seed heads to take off. I'll be grabbing those and these today, but not right now. Sometimes I do too much, so I'm not gonna try to do that right now while I'm trying to make this video. And I have some eggplant down here. Only these 2 plants, and I need to check when it's time to pull them off. It's usually best to pull them off when they're still tight, shiny. It's hard to tell through this bag, but they still got some shine to the skin. So I'm gonna be taking those off because I need to finish pulling the plants out of this bed to grow some more things. These are some couple different types of peppers over here growing. I can't see what that is. I think that's some type of golden type of bell. Ooh, I hear bugs, they scare me. Anyway, I'm not a bug person. Gardening, you would think I would be, but no, I'm not. And there's some big ugly bug in my bed right now that I wish would go away because it is way too loud. And if it gets on me, this video is probably gonna end. Got a couple cannons I dropped in the ground just to have them all over the place so I won't lose my plants again. And this is more weeds, growing vegetables and weeds. If you want some weeds, come get some weeds. Anyway, this is rosemary and Italian oregano in here in this bag. When I got them, because I had so much to do, I just plopped them in the bag and put some dirt mixed in here with, we'll say soil is the better choice of words, but I stuck them all in the bag so they'll grow, and I didn't lose plants because sometimes I buy too many, as a lot of us do. What's that bug in here? What are them weird bugs in my thing? Oh, in my bed. I'm sorry. Anyway, I wish the loud bugs would go away. But anyway, I'm prepping this bed here because I have learned my lesson with my cabbage and my greens. So I got the hoops and got some netting cut so that, and I added more soil because it had gotten pretty low. So I'm going to be planting real soon some stuff for fall to winter in here, and I'm going to cover them up to keep the creatures off. These are my cucumbers. I've been plucking these off, eating them and giving them away, sharing with my family and friends. And see if I can find a cucumber growing on here. I took some, and they used to get pretty big, and they still stay pretty sweet. It wasn't bitter at all. I got a huge one, about the size of a big zucchini, and it still tastes good. There's one in here, if you can see it, it's kind of hiding. Hard to get a good view on it, but it's in here. A cucumber right in there. I've been pulling them off, but it's a lot of babies growing. It's pickling cucumbers, and there was some silver slicer in here, but I don't know where they are. And I might have accidentally cut some of the vine out, so it's only probably a few in here, because I was trying to keep it from growing out into this bed, but there's some hidden up under there. This, some more peppers. I've been harvesting them off of there again today. I will be pulling a lot of this stuff off today. This is a brandywine. That one bent over, and I just got tired of fooling with it, and I've been struggling trying to get trellising up. And this whole yard has been redone, so I've been struggling trying to keep up with all the work of redoing the garden and pulling weeds and making sure things are planted, and it's been tough. But I'm gonna get in here actually with some cardboard in this area where all these sunflowers are, I'm gonna get down here with some cardboard and cover all this with some mulch and work around everything to try to keep from having to pull so much and just snuff it out. In the flower area, I'll probably pull the weeds around those, but over here, I'm just gonna do the cardboard method to get all of these weeds down, because it's just, the work is overwhelming. But I'm happy that I am doing better and better every year that I garden. It gets better and I have more, and I love it. So took a lot of work here all around this garden area. As you can see, I put cardboard down, and I had to keep the weeds down around here. And I just dropped, I used cypress mulch here. I love the cypress mulch. It takes longer to break down than the other type of mulch, so I use this here instead. So it's keeping a majority of all of the weeds down. You'll get sometimes that'll sneak in around the cracks, like right here, because I have trailing animals that come under here, and then they keep it from staying compacted to the ground. So then you'll get these that come up, but that's better than all of the madness you see back there with those plants. So green beans over here, I am getting green beans off of these, but they're looking a little crazy, and I may yank these down and restart a new patch, because I'm going to be planting a bunch of stuff over there. But I got green beans. Some been eating that because it's been laying down too low. But I'm going to take these out and start again. Let's see. Basil, I have basil galore in there, but I haven't seen, hopefully one won't pop up on this video, but I haven't seen any hornworms this year. I saw a big ugly one last year, but I haven't seen any on these at all. And these are a combination of that, the big boy tomato, the better bush, again, just the Brandywine. It's got a few tomatoes on here, but because of the circumstances in this bed over here, I needed a little more soil, but I slapped it in here to keep it from dying. But I do at least have some tomatoes on here I need to pull off. And green peppers here. And I just did a mix of zinnias. I just threw them in there. First time ever planting those. I had my son dig this bed out for me, and it was nice and clear, and I had to till it and everything to loosen it up because it's a lot of clay soil in there. So I planted those, but then I added some black cow mulch compost over this. But I still got a lot of work to do. That what do they say? Cleome. I was given that by the same guy who gave me the canna banana, or the Musifolia type canna. I love it. And there's another one hiding in here in this bed somewhere. I just can't see it because of the tomatoes and the basil. But these are the sweet banana peppers over here. I need to come see which ones I could take off of here. And I'm going to start drawing for the first time in my life. I got a pressure canning pot, so that, and I got some jars, and I'm going to be ordering more jars so that I can teach myself how to do some canning and preserve a lot of things that I'm growing. So I'll be doing that soon once I pluck some more tomatoes out. And I actually have a lot of tomatoes in the freezer because I've been getting a lot. So when I get them and I put them on a plate, I set them in the window and I ripen them. Once they all ripen, of course, I've rinsed them off. I put them on that plate in the freezer, let them freeze so they won't all stick together in the bag. And then once they're frozen solid, I put them all in a Ziploc bag. And until I get to them, at least I'll still have my tomatoes to use for soups or sauces or some salsa. So I'm working on that, and I'm teaching myself every single day. I've been gardening for a long time, but the vegetables I've only been doing maybe 5 or 6 years now. So every year my yard changes, and I make accommodations for more room for plants, trees, and vegetables. So I have a lot of stuff that I need to work through to get this garden at its best. and grow as much as I can because I enjoy sharing it with my friends and they enjoy me sharing it with them. And it's just a learning experience, but I'm learning how to be a little more self-sufficient in the vegetable area. Here are, what are these called? I try to save my seeds. I try to be a little more organized this year. This says Carmen Italian. First time, look like it's time for me to pull some of these off. Getting a little heavy on here. There's some more banana over here. And these are potatoes. I've been pretty successful at growing potatoes. So some of those I thought were all the way done. One bag I pulled out. Actually, I pulled 2 bags out this season, and I had a wheelbarrow with some, and it came out just beautiful, just perfect. These here, I still have to harvest. I'm gonna water them and give some of them, I'm gonna say more than half of them a little more time. Some of them are almost ready, but as you see, some of them have good green leaves in here, and then maybe some of the other vines are browning, but I'm gonna leave them in here a little bit longer. Got spare plants in here, but I can't wait to redo all my collards and my cabbage because I was so ready. I would have had it. How many pots I have? Seven big cabbages in there. Haven't put anything in the ground yet because I'm not so confident about growing everything in the ground. Not out here because I have been treating the ground. So I want us to give this ground several more years of just sitting before I do anything. So I put everything in the beds. Oh, and on the beds, this is all cinder block. They were less than $2 a block. I had a lot of them here already because I used to stand my plants up on them like I have these crates here. But I decided to use them to make raised beds. So what I did was I took wire mesh. Once we carved the area, I put down wire mesh. We got the blocks on, and the wire mesh was at the bottom to keep the tunneling animals from coming up into my yard, eating the roots and eating the plants up. So that worked pretty well. I got a long roll of it. My roll, because of the size of my beds, I think my roll is about 2.5 to 3 feet wide, and I think it probably was 100 feet or longer on the roll. So I just had to get the wire cutters and cut it down and have somebody help me hold it down. If I didn't have help, I could have just put bricks down to hold it down and then drop my dirt on top of them and remove my bricks. But the animals haven't been in here. I know he trails through here sometime, but my plants have been doing pretty good. So again, I'm gonna be pulling all this stuff out of here and restarting this whole bed. Probably leave the cucumbers for now, but I'm gonna clean the rest of this bed out, clear it out, add some more soil in here up to the top of the bricks, and put my hoops in and cover with netting once the cucumbers are done, and get it together. I got a lot of work to do, but this is a panel. Here in Cincinnati, Ohio, there's several, what you call this store? I can't get the name out. Contractor Supply. I have Tractor Supply. There's a lot to remember. I got a lot going on. Trying to remember everything to do in the house. I've been cleaning my house up. Since the plants are established, I've been finally getting inside, cleaning up. And when you garden, unless you have tons of energy, it's hard to do the inside and the outside. And that's only because I've had several different types of people come and go in my home, from clients that I cared for and got paid for, and other family members with different situations. So my house kept getting shuffled around. So things kind of got out of control, but I'm getting it back in control because I really love a nice clean house and everything nice and pretty. So I'm getting there, getting it back to where it used to be. Don't have a lot of storage in my house either, and we need to actually build some storage rooms in the basement. But anyway, this here we put up to have my tomatoes grow on, and I need to get one more pole, which is what they call a T-post, to put right in the center to keep that supported. But right now, the T-post on the ends are working. I use zip ties to hold that on, and sometimes I come back and I put new ones on in between to reinforce it, because occasionally they will crack and come loose. So I always keep plenty of them strapped on there. And this panel here is about $27 here where I live. Some people say there's about $100. It's only $27 here. This is the same thing, I just have it arched with the shorter T-posts. These are the 4-foot T-posts. And this is a 16 by 50 inch, 16 foot by 50 inch panel. And that's what I usually buy, and that's what this same thing is. It's a 16 by 50 inch, 16 foot by 50 inch panel. And these are the 6-foot post, T-post that I use on here. And I like to use the type that have the little, I don't know what you call these little notched type hooks or whatever, and they have the holes in it. I like this version better than the other ones, because I can have choices on how I want to strap things or how I can use this. So I choose those. Now these flower pots, I can't really tell you the size of them. To me, they look like they're about the size of maybe a 7-gallon or more grow bag or something, or might even be more than that. But anyway, that's a decent size for the tomatoes, but I want to transition those into bigger pots and use more of those pond liner type, I don't know what you call those pots. It's more like a 20 gallon type of pot is what I want to use with these on the tomatoes. So these are all gonna get switched out next year to bigger pots to support more and a better growing tomato. But they actually did great. I harvested a lot because I have several bags of frozen tomatoes in my freezer. Some still growing, still ripening in windows, and I've been eating them as well and giving them away. This is my pot of celosia. These pretty much are self-seeding flowers. All you have to do when these flower heads dry out, this will dry out. All you do is just whack it and you'll hear the seeds drop, and they're like little tiny poppy seeds. They'll drop in there, and once the weather is right, they'll grow on their own. I did not plant those. They just fall off in the pot, and here they are. And as you see again, I've been trying to line the yard up with more of this cypress mulch. I still have more to go, but I got a lot of yard to work with and a lot of stuff to do inside. A lot of other things going on in my life where I try to do as much as I can out here, and then I still have to give time to my husband and other people and things, especially my children and my grandchildren. So I'm slowly working on this, and every time, like I say, when you see my videos, you'll see something has changed. But change is good. So that's the biggest part of my garden area. I've sure been tempted to tear that down, but we just put that up last year, and when I told my husband I might want to take it down, he gave me the dirtiest look, so I said, never mind. So it's still up, but it's sturdy. That's not going anywhere. The wind cannot move that because we really put that together strong. I've got some T-posts actually nailed to the wood to hold that down, so that's not lifting up and going anywhere. We just have to replace the plastic and double it up the next time and reinforce it where I know it started tearing. So I remember exactly where I need to reinforce it so that it won't do, because the wind in my yard is nothing but windstorm. When it comes through here, it's knocking and throwing, blowing stuff everywhere. I'm surprised those sunflowers are still standing, but they're hanging on. So, let's see. Okay, over here are my hibiscus. These were all bare roots, except for the Summer in Paradise over here on the end. I love this. I love the color. Only thing, I just hate that hibiscus flowers only last a day. They are so beautiful. I bought this one from Big Box Store, and I love that color, that pink, hot pink. I'm not the craziest about just pink, but I love it combined with other colors, and I love a hot pink. This one is a starry night. I don't know if it's called starry night, but it's starry night. I like that. I love the foliage color and the flower. This one was supposed to be midnight marble, but I could have sworn that midnight marble foliage was different than that. But I still like the red flowers. One of the branches broke off, so this one's not as wide as the other one's, not as full, because it just, I don't know if it was the wind or an animal, but the whole big old branch came out. I mean, it was big. Would have filled that up pretty good, but it's gone. I couldn't even mend it because it was all the way, just about all the way broke off. This one is the Berry Awesome. I like the color of these too, which is kind of mauve-y. I'm not the craziest about mauve, but as a flower, this is beautiful. I love it. And it's got tons of blooms still on it. This was an arborvitae that almost died several years ago, and I've had these almost since I moved here. I moved to this house 2014. It's now 2023, and this tree was more than halfway copper brown in a pot, because I had 4 of them lining my driveway. I had 2 at the edge, the bottom edge of my driveway, and 2 at the top along the sides. And this one browned out so bad I thought it was going to die, but I took some Milorganite and I sprayed it around the pot that it was in, and several months later, before you know it, this was green. This was stunted, and at the top it should be taller, and it's growing at the top now. They always say if you cut it or something happens, it won't grow, but this one's starting to grow at the top, and it is green all the way around. There's no browning that I've seen so far. It's all green, and this thing was like, I thought it was a goner, but it's doing fine. And I think it's also because of this wood mulch. We had a lot of weedy trees and things cut down in the back of my yard, and as you know, wood chips will really, really, really fertilize your ground area. There's wood chips everywhere out here from the trees that we cut down and had chipped, and then they dropped it back on my driveway, and we sprayed it all back here. So I think that having that wood mulch back here, and it's pretty deep, has saved that tree. Is feeding it, keeping it cool and keeping it moist. So that tree is doing awesome, and so are these plants here. These are Pinky Winkies in the back. This one's the oldest. I had this one a year or so before I got this second one. So eventually, probably by next year, that one will catch up with this one over here. That's a Sky Pencil Holly in the center. It did some weird stuff this year, but it's still green. It's still there. But that's all wood chips. But I put some pine bark on top of this just to separate some of the garden and ground area. So I still have work to do, and probably this fall I'm gonna load this up with pine bark all in here and clean up the edges. And what I did around here, because I got tired of using a weed whacker to keep edging this, I put down some fabric and nailed it down real tight, just only about that much down here. So all the way around this edge, it'll stay to where all I have to do is put a wheel over it and just use the lawnmower to keep it so it'll still look edged. And I'm going to continue to put cypress mulch all out here on top of all this stuff out here to match all of that there. And that's all cardboard. I know I'm jumping around, but there's a lot to cover. So behind that, it would have been full of weeds, but I pulled all those out, stepped on some, and I just put the cardboard and wet it so that I can start laying it down. And then I'm going to dump some bags of cypress mulch all through here. It brightens it up out here, and just to help keep some of the weeds down. But since we cleared all the trees now, because this used to be nothing but woods, we couldn't even walk in here from where this fence piece is we have up on the post. And all of this was nothing but weeds. We couldn't get in there, but we cleared it all out, cleaned it up really good, and now I can get back there and do some things. That's just some random ribbon grass that somebody was supposed to throw away, and they didn't. They left it laying there, so it took root, and it's just spreading right there. So I'm going to pot that up eventually. Supposed to be my shade garden, but I can't get to the weeds and keep it done because it's too much work out here. And when you do vegetables in the yard, you got to be organized somewhat and you got to have the energy. But I've been kind of all over the place with between family and other things, so get sidetracked sometime, but I'll get to this soon. Right here, the rain, oh my goodness, I've cleaned this like out 3 times this year so far, and here we are again with more weeds. I kind of redid this area and put fabric under the rocks to try to keep them from growing between, but it's growing from that side over and that side, so I gotta pull those out because the fabric is like right before the weeds, and I need to just put more cardboard and mulch little pieces and just mulch it real good around the rocks. I may extend some of the fabric, but I don't want to because I plan to put another hibiscus in here on this side. So I come through, kill all that, but I'll probably get preen and spread it through that whole thing. Trees. These are my, what you call the green giant or thuyas in here. Right now, I've just been getting whatever busted bags and discounted bags and whatever type of mulch I can to just throw down here because I put cardboard around them all. They were just planted in the middle of the grass, so I had to kind of kill off some of the grass by laying stuff on top. So what I did was I put fabric around the edges of this. As you can see, I had to finish nailing this down a little tighter around here so the lawnmower won't suck it up, but this is what I did to try to keep a little edge here. So I need to run a lawnmower across this and maybe just get something to clip a little bit of the longer grass out. But this is the stuff I use around the edge just to separate this from the grass because it gets a little crazy. So these all were planted last summer. This was the first tree I bought, and this was the bigger tree, but it was below my hip when I put it in the ground. The tree is well above my head now. That one is almost, yeah, it's pretty much my height. If I stand next to it, this tree is my height. That one there. That one's taller than me. And this one is my height if I stand next to that one right there. These are all babies. When I bought these were just, they look like I was just planting one feather in each pot. I had them all in one pot until they got stronger, and then I took them out, separated them into their own pot. So these are the baby green giant trees that I have. And I'm just growing them, and I'm gonna upgrade their pots probably this fall or by next spring. They're gonna get bigger pots. Maybe next spring because they're gonna go dormant in a couple months anyway. So I'm going to keep those fertilized, keep those pruned just a touch, not much. I just take off some unnecessary or possible browning leaves, which they don't get much of those, but they've been doing great since I planted those. I bought these and they were super cheap when I bought them. I think I only paid $1.99 a tree, and which was like a small feather. And now they're pretty strong. They're doing good. This one was a clearance plant, was a thuya, green giant. This one's struggling, but he's green now. He used to be like, he was smashed up real bad and the leaves and stuff would twist and turn and disfigure, but I told him he was just as special as the rest of the trees. We gonna take you too. So I got him in there and he's doing his own thing. So I'm gonna let him do it. But right now, this is the work in progress of a gardener who does all her own work and has no help because my sons are working and one lives far away. The other one stays here, but he works long hours and he has a daughter and I help with the daughter. So sometimes that takes me from this, but I don't mind because I love her and she is so cute. I just love her to death. Anyway, I have to finish putting mulch down in this bed and covering up all this, and then later on I'll probably spray all those weeds in the back because we had all that cleared out and cut, and it was like the mulching and stuff up there, but I only had so much to go so far, and then I had to neglect it because I started working on other things and it just got out of control. So right now I'm just leaving them alone. They're gonna be dead in a minute soon. And then this area was cleared out completely. You'll see it in other videos where you can see all the way down to the creek bed, but that grew back. And I got stung real bad last year in this area because there was a hornet, a yellow jacket nest in the ground, and I had several of their colonies sting me and attack me out here in this yard. I was weed whacking all the area and stepped in it, and they started at my ankles and worked their way up to my thighs, and they did it. Boy, they did a thing on me. And you talking about howling? I almost wound up in the house in full Nelson, but my husband saved me at the door. So anyway, this is the work I'm doing in this yard. It's a lot. And I'm getting exercise. I'm getting sweaty and stanky all the time. This is my Japanese silvergrass I put in here. Last year I just randomly stuck it there. I didn't really dig it all the way. I dig like a very shallow hole, and then I piled dirt around it and stuck it there because this ground on this side is really hard. And I just popped it in there to save it, and it's doing okay. Took it from over there because in all of that I had some giant pampas grass. They were huge. They took up more half of that space back there when they were in the ground. They were super wide. And then the Japanese silvergrass is over there, and I took it out and moved it over here. Pampas grass is gone. I burned that in the ground. I just went ahead and just set it on fire and burned it out. And my sons dug the root balls out, and now I have my garden area over there. Over here, tomatoes on their last leg. I need to start pulling some of these out, clipping off some of these branches and just getting it down to what's left to pull off of here. And then I'm gonna move these pots because I'm gonna put better pots here next year. This year I just put something that I had around the house that I can go ahead and plant them and get some things growing. And I'm gonna put a better weed barrier down along this. These are sweet potatoes. I need to add more dirt in these bags and some fertilizer and keep wider nose. I'm sure something's growing in there. So I got to keep working on these. This is this is a different type of cabbage, all season cabbage in there. The bugs been eating on that, so I separated that from everything else. And I got watermelons and cantaloupe in there. And this is the purple Cherokee. And I've got some nice ones in the freezer. It looks like it's only a couple tomatoes left on this, but these are good. And you can always tell because they do have a really burgundy-like red on them once they ripen, and the rest of them are more of that cherry red. Now these are either Big Boy, Better Bush, something. I was being organized, but I started getting confused while I was talking on the phone to my friends and putting tags on, and of course, but that's purple Cherokee here. They came out pretty good. My bootleg version of real quick tying them up because the storms were coming. So I just grabbed whatever rope I had so it wouldn't cut into the plant and slice the limbs. I just used that because the wind is terrible in my yard. It rips, it just tears everything up. Some of my plants can stand it and some of them struggle. But I put that weed barrier down on the inside because all this thing used to be loaded with weeds all the way to the wall, this whole thing. So I spent a lot of time out here in my garden trying to work with the weeds. It's been something else. I'm thoroughly exhausted because of it. But I went ahead and made a little watermelon patch back here so that I can let them sit on this weed barrier rather than my ground. And the animals don't tunnel over here at this time, so that's why I stuck this over here. Garden area is a mess because I haven't been over here doing anything to it, but I put the preen mulch down and they actually did better. Besides the weeds taking over, they did much better. Hopefully the next time I make a video it won't be so weedy, but this is something else because I've been spending so much time creating the areas and building things. It took a lot of time away from me trying to actually plant and give complete care and time and attention to these plants, and it's been tough, but I got at least that cleaned up, and I'm gonna finish dumping mulch here, and then hopefully we'll get some sales soon. But I'm gonna sometime next week I'm gonna load all of that up full of mulch. I'm gonna clean up and separate that. This is still gonna remain black, so it's gonna be the black over here. And if I get brown bags, which is a good idea, if you try to fill up a bed and you find some brown ones on sale, go ahead and grab those discounted bags of brown, put that down first, and then drop your black on top. That'll help you fill up the beds. I do that whenever I'm trying to do, anytime I'm using the black and brown, even if there's some cheap red, I'll put the red and the brown down first, and then I'll drop all the black on top so that you can fill it up as much as possible. Get it as deep as you can, and it really saves your plants and keeps them healthy. Out here is gonna be the pine bark. I'm gonna put that in there with those. And then the rest of that's gonna be the cypress all out there to brighten up that woody area, at least on the ground. And then finish cleaning up some of the, but that's gonna be a garden bed. This little teardrop piece in there, I'm gonna put some barrier around all of that and plant some of my lavenders and things in there, and I gotta add soil and all that, so that's a lot of work. I'm not doing it right now because I've done a lot. I'm just blessed that I've been able to produce the food that I have right now, and I'm happy. Deck, of course we redid that last year. It has helped tremendously to be able to come off of each side based on where I need to access, like right away, especially if I'm watering. And my hose, my husband had one of those big long nice sprayers on there that keep sliding. It slid off, so I just had to hold my finger on it the old school way and do it. Strawberry plant I grew from seed. It's growing well. I bought 5 different strawberry plants this year, and none of them lived. They all died. The year before I grew strawberries and I was eating them, but the ones I bought from the stores, they did not live. Mine is still in the seed pot that I put it in, and it's doing great. And I probably won't, of course, have strawberries till next year, but that's fine with me. But I'm gonna get that someplace nice and get it covered up with some hay, and hopefully that'll come out next spring and produce some strawberries for me. I have a few more baby thuyas out here, or green giants, and the ones that's in the bags now, they started out like this. So these are the ones I put out, I broke off and stuck in here, and they're doing good. Some of this is the color guard yucca in here. One of them is growing out right here. The rest of them they'll grow some too, but I'll just have to be patient and let those keep sitting in dirt, and they'll grow, at least by next spring, they'll start sprouting out more. And just a view of where I put the weed barrier down over here. Some spare pots over here. And I need to put a taller T-post in the middle of that. Did the same thing as I did with the tomatoes on the other side, but I need one more T-post over here that's tall. That's just what I had at the time to slap it up and just get those up because they grew so fast. So I got hay down here. This was loaded with weeds. This whole thing, you couldn't even tell between the weeds and the watermelon, the melon plants. So I had to come out here and get on my hands and knees. At my age now, getting on hands and knees is not a good thing. But I got down there and I pulled out all of the weeds except for the little patch. I couldn't get all of that yet, but I'll get that soon. But I pulled it out and I put the hay down so I can distinguish between the plants and see the base of the roots so I can give them some fertilizer. This thing here, I got some compost tea in here. Open this up. It's nasty. I gotta kind of sip some to get some of that water out of there. But I keep that covered so it won't be stinky over here. And this is Swiss chard. These have been doing great, and this is called an all season cabbage. These are finally closing up. This one's pretty hard, and leave them in there, of course, a little while longer. They're not ready yet, but they're doing okay. There's a few different types of Swiss chard. These are doing beautiful. It's always one I snap off every once in a while, but we've been giving them away and eating it. Something loves this red. Oh, it's a squash beetle. That's what it is. They've been eating up the red version. They're not eating the other ones. They're eating the red. Yeah, eating the red. But I'm gonna leave it be for now because there's another leaf, couple leaves growing. So I'm just gonna keep watering. And I haven't spread. The other note is I haven't sprayed a majority of these plants at all. I did try a little Monterey BT earlier on, I got at least one cabbage over here that I may be able to harvest, but I didn't stay up on that because I got tired of buying it and I didn't want to keep using it. I used it one time, but everything else is just naturally grown. There's no type of chemicals on my plants, and I prefer not to. This is the reason why I want to grow on my own, because I want to figure out how to do it all without a bunch of chemicals until I absolutely have to. I'd rather eat something just naturally, organically grown, and I'm sure my friends do too. So, as you see, the little place I edged out to put all this mulch down over here too. Some little things are peeping through, but it's easier to snatch them a couple little weeds out than have this whole thing full of weeds, and I can't walk through it because stuff crawling on me and the weeds all on my legs and arms. So it was something else managing this. So when I see you again, it's gonna be different again. So anybody who watched this whole video, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I hope that you all like and subscribe to my channel, because I really need some views and I need subscriptions. And you're gonna keep seeing me evolve this whole yard until I move out of this house to a bigger place where I can have more work to do. So anyway, thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.